Hey friends, Dave Hagan here. Early to bed, early to rise? What do you think? That's today on the Financial Wellness Podcast.
Welcome to the Financial Wellness Podcast, Dave's weekly message to keep you on your path to the financial success. Here is your host, financial problem solver and talk show host, Dave Hagan.
Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. We're coming to you from beautiful downtown Van Nuys this week. With me, as always, Mr. Brian Reed. Brian, welcome.
Good morning, David. How art thou?
We're good. I got to tell you, the whole town, we're outside of LA just a little bit. The whole town is like, calm down, because the Oscars are over.
Thank God.
Oh my goodness, the town just goes crazy. And but now it's over. Now we can relax. We can get back to work. Who won Best Picture, by the way?
There was Green Book. Green Book?
Didn't see it. Didn't see it.
Did you see any of them?
I don't know. Who are the nominees?
There was, Black Panther. That was the Marvel comic.
Actually, that was...
You saw that
a while ago.
Okay.
Beautiful movie.
Black Klansman was one of them,
Didn't
too?
see it.
That was that Spike Lee one?
No, I didn't see it.
What about Bohemian Rhapsody?
That was actually pretty good. The wife dragged me to the theater and we saw that. It was pretty good. I mean, I didn't realize how much I had appreciated.
Rami Malek was great.
Amazing. And the Queen music was great.
We're starting to sound like LA Ians talking about the movies.
Oh, stop. What about, what was another? The Wife?
Oh, The Wife was in, no, well.
Was that one?
I don't think that was actually nominated for Best Picture. I think
didn't
that
see
was,
it.
Who was? Oh, you didn't see that one?
Didn't see it. Who else?
Did you see? There was that one, A Star Is Born. That was that Gwyneth. Not Gwyneth. What's her name? Lady Gaga.
Yeah, didn't see it.
Brad Cooper.
Yeah, didn't
see that one either.
No, I didn't see it.
You sure you live in LA, dude?
I know. It's like I'll see it on video.
You might need to move. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. I mean, I don't try to get too caught up in that. I was with a bunch of people one time. We were in a guy's. Had a private theater in his house, and he was playing like these nominees, and we'd watch a movie at night and go, well, that's 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. I don't know. Oh my goodness. So today we're going to talk about early to bed and early to rise. And I was having a conversation with Nick, our announcer, and he was saying that, wow, he's been getting up early and working out and he's feeling more productive. And he said, wow, we should do something about that. Or do a show on that. And I'd already done some research and was thinking about it. And I saw an article in Entrepreneur magazine from February 2017. Yes, all you listeners to the podcast, you can say that you get information from Entrepreneur magazine. You're talking to your friends and go, oh yeah, I follow Entrepreneur, of course, yeah. So a listener a couple of weeks ago sent us an email about what time I got up in the morning, and I thought, let's do a show on that. So
isn't that a quote? Early to bed, early to rise makes man like wealthy and
healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Yeah, who said that?
Yeah, you know who that. That was Ben Franklin.
Was Franklin?
That was Ben. And you, talk about someone who's into personal finance and financial wellness. He's on the Hyundai. So he must have known what he was talking about, right? But there's, that
was nice, Dave. That was a nice workout. I appreciated that.
He'd never get away with saying that in today's modern age. You know why?
Why?
Because he said makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. It's got to be
a person
healthy, wealthy, and wise. I mean, it's it's a statement of the times, but there's still a lot of
truth to the statement.
Truth to it,
yeah.
And it's, the more I was thinking about it, it seems to me that, getting up early does lead to enhanced business and personal success. When I was young, I always wanted to have, one of my goals was never have to have a job where I had to get up in the dark. I just don't dig it. I didn't want to get up in the dark. My feeling is, If the good Lord wanted us to be up at that hour, he would have made it light at that hour, But now I do it, and I guess a lot of people do it, So I don't know. I was thinking about what are the benefits of getting up at this time in the morning, and I was reading this magazine article from Entrepreneur. It seems to me there's a bunch of benefits. Like one, you get a jump on the day. If you get into the office, you get up early, you're already, at full steam ahead when everyone else is still straggling in, trying to get their first cup of coffee. So I think it gives you a performance advantage in the office if that's what you do. Two, I think it gives you time to get up early and kind of plan your day, think it through. And we talked about, people that meditate early in the day as kind of a way to kind of calmly go through the day. We talked about the fact here Seinfeld had meditated for 40 years and hadn't meditated in the morning. It was always in the afternoon. And his comment was, after 40 years, I've been doing it wrong. But I think it does. I mean, we're going to talk about some successful people that do get up early. And I think one of the things that they do is they do visualize, they do meditate, they do think about their day. They get rid of maybe some of the mundane details that they need to, get out of the way, like reviewing their emails and stuff. Number three, you tend to deal better with negativity. I bumped into a 2014 study that was reported in the Cognitive Therapy and Research publication, and they were showing that early risers are less likely to be overwhelmed with repetitive negative thoughts. There's even an acronym or initials that they use. They call it RNT, repetitive negative thoughts. I never knew that was actually a thing, but apparently it is. And if you're getting up early, you're not going to necessarily be as prone to being overwhelmed by something like that. I guess that makes sense. I mean, rather than lay in bed and fret or, have those kind of difficult dreams when you're just waking up, like, oh, I wet my pants or something, you just jump up and attack the day, especially if you're refreshed, especially if you got to bed early. So I think that's an advantage. Number four, I think generally it enhances your chances of success. I found a paper that a biology professor from the University of Education in Heidelberg, Germany did, and the guy's named Christopher Randler, and he did a study in 2010 on early rising. And by the way, it was discussed in the Harvard Business Review the same year. So all of our listeners, now you can tell your friends, oh yeah, I follow the Harvard Business Review. Great high-end stuff if anyone ever asks. But according to Professor Randler, and I'm going to quote, when it comes to business success, morning people hold the important cards. My earlier research showed that they tend to get better grades in school, which get them into better colleges, which then lead to better job opportunities. Morning people also anticipate problems and try to minimize them. Randler added, they're proactive. Many studies have linked this trait, proactivity, with better job performance, greater career success, and higher wages. Well, I guess he doesn't leave a whole lot to doubt.
He doesn't. That's a lot of facts right there.
Get up or get out, Although it's interesting, he goes on to say, though evening people do have some advantages. So evening people, here's your bit. Other studies reveal that evening people tend to be smarter and more creative than morning types, have a better sense of humor, and are more outgoing. They're more out of sync, though, with the typical corporate schedule. So, got to have a sense of humor, and I guess night people are funnier. So there you go. But people that are trying to pursue their, financial success, their financial wellness, they're putting their careers forward in the business world. Clearly, it's a morning person's, arena. Another reason, you tend to procrastinate less. I found a 2008 study that found that early risers don't procrastinate as much as people who stay up later. And I guess that's no surprise since they're more proactive and they have more quiet time in the morning to complete tasks. Another advantage, good sleep makes you look better. here's something where I need some more good sleep, I guess,
I think we all do.
Oh, man. A study from the University of Stockholm found that those who appeared tired are more likely to be perceived as unhealthy and less attractive. And I guess that's kind of a bummer, but I guess it's a fact. The study found that humans are sensitive to sleep-related facial cues, and that has potential implications for social and clinical judgments and behavior. So, maybe not the end of the world, but I don't know about you, Brian, but I can use all the help I can get.
Yes, I agree with you. You can use all the help that you can get.
I'll wake up in the morning and go,
see what I did there?
Honey, I'll wake up in the morning and go, honey, how do I look? I got an extra hour of sleep. What do you think? And she'll
go back to bed, Dave.
Yeah, she'll still tell me, why don't you go clean up the dog poop in the backyard, dude? Oh, man. But I think there's some advantages. I find that, the days that I get up earlier, the day seems a little bit longer. I've got some time later on the day that might not have otherwise been available to work out or to meditate, get home a little bit earlier from work. But I do hate getting up in the dark. Do not like it, but it makes the rest of the day a little better,
It's when if you're outside and you're seeing the sun come up and it's not because you've been up all night, that's kind of a good feeling. If you're taking a walk right when that's happening, and you're literally ahead of everyone. Mm-hmm. You're already up, you've already dressed, you're already doing your walk and exercising. For me, the hard part is actually forcing myself to go to bed so I can get up early.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it seems like you just get home and you got to do these nickel and dime things. And next thing you know, it's already 11:30, 12 o'clock. And you're like, how am I supposed to get up now at, 5?
Yeah. Well, and I don't know about you, but I always think, hey, I think I can squeeze a little more into today. Or, hey, I'd like another 30 minutes just kicking back, watching some idiot television or something like that.
Yeah, some downtime.
Before you know it, it's midnight, and then it's harder to wake up the next morning.
Damn you, Netflix.
But I think it's a 24-hour cycle. If you can get to bed a little earlier, easier to get up the next morning, and have a nice productive day. So we've always said, hey, let's look at people that are successful, people that we look up to, and try and emulate some of their habits, make them a unknowing role model or coach. So some sleep habits of some successful business people. Now, according to a 2017 article in HuffPost, so that's where this information comes from, Apple CEO Tim Cook wakes up at 3:45 a.m. every morning to go through email, exercise, and grab a coffee before settling into his workday. I don't know, 3:45, that's a little extreme, but,
That's not happening.
Right. I draw the line at like 5 o'clock or something. That's and even that's kind of extreme. But, hey, I guess, if it works for Tim, okay, Someone else, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Well, now we're talking heady business people, but he is successful. He's got a successful acting career. They're paying him big bucks to be in films. He said that he gets up in the gym at 4 a.m. to get an edge on the competition.
That's early.
That's early to be up, in the gym pushing weights. Now he's probably got a nice gym in his house, and he's probably got some guy that comes over and, a personal trainer, make sure that he gets the stuff.
Keeps him motivated.
Yeah,
Nutritionist and all that.
Get up, push, sissy. Although I don't think I'd call Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson sissy. He's awful intimidating. But, yeah. Starbucks executive Howard Schultz, he's going to run for president. He gets up at 4:30. He walks his dog and exercises and makes his coffee to get the day going. So he's up.
That's a pretty good time. 4:30.
4:30. It's pretty stout. Out walking the dogs in the dark. I don't know, but hey, if it works for him, okay. How about Jack Dorsey, co-founder and CEO of Twitter and Square? He wakes up at 5 a.m. to meditate. My kind of man. Mm-hmm. Exercise, makes his coffee, checks in on his work for the day. LinkedIn CEO Jeff Weiner wakes up at 5:30, checks his email, reads the news, exercises, and meditates. Again, another guy meditating. Richard Branson, always an interesting guy. He's up at 5:45, exercises, eats his breakfast early before he gets off to work. Of course, we have to check in with Oprah. She wakes up at, we've mentioned her, 3, 4, 5 times on the podcast. And you've got to be impressed. She's running a multi-million-dollar empire with all the stuff that she does. She even has her own channel, right? The Oprah Winfrey Network or something.
Is that still? Yeah, I think that is still running.
OWN, Oprah Winfrey. Yeah, Oprah Winfrey Network. I mean, you got to be impressed. She wakes up 6 to 6:20 and she walks her dogs, and followed by chai tea and cappuccino, and then she exercises and meditates. Everyone has her breakfast. Warren Buffett. Now, Warren Buffett, kind of maybe the sleeper inner here. He wakes up only at 6:45, and he starts his day by reading the newspaper. So he's kind of relaxing and kind of thinking through his day, probably getting some business ideas, some investment ideas. My man, Elon Musk, up at 7, begins his day by tackling critical emails, and he gets his kids off to school and showers and heads into the office. Always interesting what Elon is up to because he's into so many things. Amazon founder, CEO Jeff Bezos, isn't he the richest man in the world right now?
I think so.
I think he passed Bill Gates. It says here he prioritizes 8 hours of sleep and then gets his day started between 7 and 8 a.m. and he reads the newspaper and exercises. You got to be impressed with what he does and what he's been able to generate. He started selling books on the internet. Now he's,
selling everything.
Now he's selling everything. Pretty impressive, So, check it out. Listen to what these people do, but they all get an early start to their day, and it looks like they do something physical. They check their email. They get some of the more mundane tasks out of the way, and then they plan out their day. They have a plan for every day, and they're doing that because they're allowing themselves that quiet time in the morning. And really, that's one of the things that the Financial Wellness Podcast is all about, just having a plan,
I think maybe I'll start getting up at 4:59. Because all of these guys are, most of these people are waking up in the 5s, and I want to be part of the 4 o'clock club. I'm never going to be part of the 3 o'clock club with Tim Cook, but, I'll do 4, but I'll do 4:59, so I'm right at the very edge. So I can still tell people I'm up at, during the 4 o'clock hour.
I think that sounds good. I think that will intimidate people. And
do you feel intimidated right now? I'm trying to intimidate you at the time.
I totally am. 4:59 is totally impressive because I don't think I could do that. Oh man. Well, so what's the takeaway here? Well, just to sum up, I guess we could say there's something to this early to bed and early to rise situation, making a person healthy, wealthy, and wise, Rising early tends to enhance productivity, gives people an advantage over other people that they're working with or their competition that they're maybe working against. Rising early and regularly is good for your health and most importantly for your appearance, right? You
are a superficial.
Look, Hollywood's just down the road.
It's gotten to you today, man. Let it go.
Yeah, it's all how you look, baby. It's all how you look. How about many successful people in business and other fields, follow this example. They get up early to try and get things done and try and pursue their plan to, move them further along to their goals and their dreams. I don't know, something to think about.
It's like, why not try this for 2 weeks? Or a month. Just try getting up early or set the alarm clock and see what happens. If it's not a benefit for you in the end, all right, well, sweet. You figured out what doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
It's working for a lot of people, though.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. We've tended to do it, and even though I detest it, after the first couple of minutes, after the first couple sips of coffee, it's a lot easier to get used to, And,
I really shouldn't take any satisfaction in this, but there is twisted little part of myself that goes, I'm better than everyone because I'm up already working.
Well, I mean, you know what? If it works, go for it. I had a hard time like flicking on the switch, just getting up in the dark and flicking on the switch. So I had to figure out some way to get around that. So of course, you know what I do? I hooked it up. So I hooked the house up. So I go, Alexa, turn on the kitchen lights, so I don't have to walk into a dark kitchen, to make the coffee. Now, if I could just say, Alexa, make the coffee, I guess.
Well, get one of those coffee makers that you just set the timer. That's what I do.
That's a good idea, actually.
Because then it's like, I smell the coffee, and I'm still in bed, but I'm starting to go, oh, wait, is that yeah.
Oh, I smell that, yeah. Is that French roast this morning, or...
what did I put in the pot last night?
Yeah,
all right,
that's
great.
a good idea. That's a good idea.
Set the timer.
Check it out, everybody. Get up in the dark. This is Dave Hagan, and you're listening to the Financial Wellness Podcast.
You've been listening to the Financial Wellness Podcast, Dave's weekly message to keep you on your path to financial success. If you have a question that you would like Dave to answer on the podcast, go to thefinancialwellnesspodcast.com. You can leave an audio message with one click of a button, or type your message into the question box. Either way, it's sent right to Dave's phone. As an additional bonus, each month, Dave will randomly draw from the submitted questions and pick the winner of a free 1-hour personal conversation with Dave to help you achieve your financial goals. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you receive the new episode notifications. Let's listen in now as Dave answers some emails.
All right, we've got an email here from Adam, I think. Brian, what does it say?
This is from Adam, and he's wondering, I think we've done this one before maybe, but it's always a good one. What are your thoughts on no-interest balance transfers?
Oh, wow, that's a really complicated answer, because the answer is no. No. Balance transfers. I've said in the past, show me someone who's balance transferring, and I'll show you someone who's pretty close to being financially terminal. I really despise almost balance transfers for a number of reasons. First of all, a lot of them come with fees, and they always have higher interest rates. So if you're paying like 18 on a credit card, and hopefully no one out there's doing it, hopefully none of our listeners are doing it, because I know a lot of people that aren't listeners are doing it, right? But the balance transfers have a higher interest rate. Look on your statement. It'll say interest rate on purchases, and then it'll give you an interest rate, and then it'll say advances, and it's a higher interest rate. And so they're gonna charge you more. And then if something ultimately happens in your life where you can't repay, it's more likely, and you end up filing a bankruptcy, say, for example, it's more likely that they will object to the discharge of that advance in bankruptcy, because it looks like cash moved across the table, and it's like someone had a party and didn't invite them. So they'll turn around and say, you defrauded me and you should pay me even though you've had to suffer a bankruptcy.
So you don't think there's any circumstance? I know where you're going. I know that you're right. However, I also see 2%. 2% of the time someone can use this for their benefit.
Yeah.
If they're going to pay it off in time, which means you have to have a plan.
Yeah. I mean, I know that there are advance offers out there where it's no interest for a year. And I've seen things on the internet that say, get out of debt this way. Take your 3 credit cards with balances that are running at 18 or 20% and pay those off by using cash advances from other companies that are 0% for a year. And then now you're just repaying at 0%. I mean, on paper, that sounds really great, except for the fact that at the end of a year, unless you've paid it off, you're going to get jammed on a higher interest rate. So, your comment about, you got to have a plan, I think that's pretty salient. And to pay off 20, 30 grand in a year, that's a lot of macaroni and cheese dinners. Possible. And if someone has the discipline to do that, and if someone's really comfortable that their income stream is going to remain consistent or go up, maybe, yeah. But that's a pretty narrow slice of the pie, it seems to me, you know? Can you think about another circumstance where someone might want to do that?
No, it's why I said I agree with you that, for 98% of the people, it's not a good idea. It's just a slippery slope.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is.
Never say never, but,
Yeah.
you got to be in that 2%.
Yeah, I mean,
and motivated.
Have a ton of discipline, have a ton of motivation. Now, I mean, there might be some other circumstance, like, your dog gets hit by a car, and you don't have any reserve, and the vet says, I can save your dog's life for $1,000. Well, I mean, I guess you're going to do what you got to do. But hopefully you're never put in that difficult circumstance. Hopefully you've got some kind of an emergency, a reserve like we recommend, and you don't have to resort to that. But, these offers where they tell you, hey, it's 0%, and then they kind of poo-poo what the interest rate is later on down the line. I mean, it kind of reminds me of like the cable, where they say, hey, $29 a month. Well, for a year, and then it's like $104 and blah, 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 blah. It hardly seems honest. I mean, I guess it is because it is disclosed. It's there.
It is, but, unfortunately. It's just a kind of a jerk move.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of it puts you in a bad spot, and you end up paying a lot of extra interest, which usually ends up being the first sweat off your brow. When you get that paycheck, it's pretty brutal. So very limited circumstances. How about another circumstance? Someone needs to get their hands on some money for a Super Bowl bet. What do you think about that? I don't know. Only if you're betting with Tom Brady to win, I guess. There are a lot of people in LA that were putting money on the Rams. I heard someone dropped 7 figures on a Rams bet.
Well, they dropped 7 figures.
They dropped 7 figures. That's brutal. Rams look pretty good, but cardinal rule of betting: always bet with Tom.
My money's on the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, don't cash advance for that at all, baby. That's too tough. That's too tough.
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. So, limited experience, avoided at all cost. I'd almost rather see you borrow from a friend or a family member, as difficult as a loan as that is. In a very limited circumstance, it might work, but generally, no, wouldn't do it. Talking about, bad ideas, I was talking to a friend of mine just this last week, and he had purchased a used electrical vehicle, which an EV, and I'm digging that. Smart, love it, but he wanted the vehicle so bad he agreed to pay 29% on a used EV.
What?
29%. Yeah. I mean, we used to call that loan sharking, and now 29%, it's like, oh, wow. His credit's not that good. And so he agreed to pay 29%. He wanted the car so bad. And so now he's driving around the used EV, and his monthly payment is like $807.
Does he drive a lot, or is there a positive side for this? There must have been some reason that is he planning on making it back or breaking even on gas?
Yeah. I mean, the backside is this friend of mine's a pretty productive fellow. He's expecting, to do well on a go-forward basis. His plan is to not make the minimum monthly. Mm-hmm. His plan is to chunk it down, maybe, $1,000 a pop, maybe to pay it off over a year. And if he can do that, well, then I guess it doesn't matter what the interest rate is. But if they lull him back to sleep to minimum monthly payments, he's going to pay more than $50,000 for that car. Jeez. So he's, I get the backstory. I understand it. I'm sure he can pull it off because he's a very resourceful dude. But, oh my goodness, he signed his name on a line that said 29%, $807 a month. That's just, I can't even believe that's legal. It's like you have visions of someone standing there ready to hit your hand with a hammer if you don't sign on the line or something. It's brutal.
Sign it now.
Yeah, sign the paper. I can't. You broke my hand. It's brutal, just brutal. So this fellow knows what he's doing. I think he'll be okay. But wow, when I heard the beginnings of that, it's like...
Yeah, it just kind of makes you shudder No.
Well, and it's like there's a whole industry out there. This isn't a one-off loan. There's a whole industry out there that does that. And of course, the response of the industry is going to be, well, this is helping people get vehicles that otherwise wouldn't be able to get it. Well, yeah, but maybe they listen to the podcast and they save up a couple bucks and drive a motorcycle, and then they save up some bucks and buy a used car, and their transportation is saved up resources rather than borrowing money. We're going to do a whole show about financing vehicles and how much someone should pay for a vehicle and the importance of a vehicle or the non-importance of a vehicle. That varies from state to state.
Yeah.
I think we could talk about that on a whole show, because there's a whole industry out there that's financing vehicles, and I think that would be a really interesting discussion. But that's for another time. We're out of time today.
We are.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Hey, we got some interesting stuff coming up. Stay tuned. This is Dave Hagan, and you're listening to the Financial Wellness Podcast.
You've been listening to the Financial Wellness Podcast, Dave's weekly message to keep you on your path to financial success. If you have a question that you would like Dave to answer on the podcast, go to thefinancialwellnesspodcast.com. You can leave an audio message with one click of a button, or type your message into the question box. Either way, it's sent right to Dave's phone. Remember, Dave will randomly draw from the submitted questions and pick the winner of a free 1-hour personal conversation with Dave to help you achieve your financial goals. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you receive the new episode notifications, or share the podcast via the app with your family and friends. This is your announcer, Nick Appel, wishing you every financial success.